24 overpowered things in Minecraft, but they get progressively more OP as the video goes on. Starting first with this way to supercharge your roller coasters. All right, the first of our overpowered things is not just bubble elevators, but how we can combine them now with minecarts. Since with the ability to ride these in as entities, like flip that and see you later. You get the gist. You can put a minecart, ride it through the bubble elevator, and it shoots you right onto the rest of the track. I mean, look, there's a reason we showed this off in our roller coaster video, right? Let's look at the alternative here, right? If I wanted to go and make a staircase of the same thing, it's taking me all these rails. Powered rails are expensive, folks. So having to go all the way up to here, or just putting down one thing of soul sand and maybe some kelp to get the bubble elevator, overpowered. Getting more overpowered, the Enderman vault door. Now, what's an Enderman vault door? Now look at you. This is like pushing you around the old folks' home. Come on, Grandma, we gotta get you back to bed. I used to have block update detectors in my day. Sure you did. Now it's all observers, don't worry. Shoot the block with a good resin. With a good reason? Resin? Let's find out. Ooh, so look, if I shoot this, it'll open and trigger the door by shooting the Enderman through the wall. Yeah, there's some weird way that this works out. Now we've got an Enderman trapped here in the boat with a chicken to fill up the other slot. What that ends up doing is that it triggers the exact sound here, sound level 14 with the calibrated skulk sensor, thereby opening up the door. But if you knew like which block to go for, maybe because you got particles here, you could even tuck in some crying obsidian so it's less obvious. Now look at that. Walk my way in. And the reason this is working here is that these are wall blocks here. Yeah. This particular design is by Acrobatic Duty 8731. I think that's so cool. What a clever way of using the Enderman. Extinguishing fire in the nether. Now that seems stupid because I mean, it's the nether, but surely enough, if we go and teleport over there, and I bring myself some splash water bottles. I mean, splash water bottles, by all other accounts, not worthwhile. It really just means that you wasted gunpowder. But if I were to go into survival here, I can throw this down and it clears out a plus shape of the fire and also puts me out in an instant. So if you're fighting against like blazes or something, it's a great way to help yourself out. Or maybe you got like your friend on fire, like observers in dire straits. No worries. Look at that. Or if you want, you could always use cauldrons, but I don't like the fact that cauldrons go down a level when you put yourself out like this. Here we've got speed running. By using small specific techniques to beat the game even faster, we can really do some insanely overpowered stuff. Now, the obvious one of which is bed bombing the Ender Dragon. So if you turn on the hitboxes and you get the head just right, and no. You know, hypothetically, that's what you would do. I mean, there's a reason why this is what the top players do, you know what I'm saying? Is it like here? Well, I killed it. Regardless, I killed it. It's fine. I'll go down as a martyr. My sacrifice wasn't in vain. I killed the Ender Dragon. Next section. Here we've got the auto sand collector. Now this particular design comes from Fritz 34,000. If I update the observer with this, I guess that's gonna update two of them. There. Look at this. We're collecting sand out of the desert by picking it up with the piston and then dropping it onto the trap door. It's not the most effective, but look, this is tileable. We can put multiple of these next to each other and just have a whole fleet cleaning out desert and scan lines until it gets to dirt. And then I can go pick up 45 sand. Not that bad. For not having to use any kind of shovel or anything, I think that's a really cool system. And hey, it's not an exploit. This is all features that I would say are completely safe, not gonna get patched out. We're not duplicating anything. And now we've got like our own little channel here. Awesome. Observer's sleuthing, and it's sleuthing with an always active command block. Alright, I guess this is 25 things you didn't know that were overpowered, because apparently Observer burrowing through the sand like this is the fastest way to get the item. Who knew? I think you're doing more destruction than the Ender Dragon. This is the shulker box loader and an unloader system. Now, by using a shulker box loader, what we would do is we'd fill in any kind of random item that we have. Now, in Observer's case, we always know steak is the answer. So let me just fill up an absurd amount of steak here. And then if I were to just give like a shulker box or whatever, this is gonna save us the time of having to worry about depositing any of our goods into the shulker. If we go into spectator mode, I can look into this container that can't be opened yet. So we can see that it's filled filling in here, albeit slowly, but look, this is entirely hands-free, folks. Kind of like Observer always. If you want to output the stuff from your farm into something for compact storage, each one of these slots ends up being 27 stacks of stuff that we've compacted down. So if you have a really fast farm, you know this is the way to go. Now, if you're playing in older versions, you're going to want to pay attention to this one, because this is one of the most overpowered things that Minecraft has ever added to the game, and boy did Mojang know it. If you were in 1.16 before, you could go into clay patches in swamps, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, and then a certain amount of blocks down, and you would always find diamonds. The generation for clay was linked exactly to the generation for diamonds. So while the amount of blocks you had to travel were different based off the versions, like in 1.16 you had to travel 7 blocks, but in 1.17 you could only travel 3. It did work in both versions, and it really wasn't until the world generation changes in 1.18 that we'd have to say goodbye to this. So get all the diamonds while you can before the server updates. The auto honey block farm. The idea is that by having our bees up here with the minimum required amount for them to be able to pollinate with these azalea leaves, we're then able to turn that into honey, collect it out into our bottles, and then auto craft it into honey blocks, getting us a whole bunch of stuff. And the way that this works, because we're never losing the bottles in the crafters, it actually fills back in, and this design is completely self-sufficient. It reloads. Credit to Cubfan on this design. And then if you were to go and put this inside of the nether, then it would be even more efficient because the bees never sleep. Kelp farming. Now, kelp wouldn't make such a great food source. What it is useful for is fuel. So we're taking our kelp, putting it in, right? And then we're using that to just load up into our furnaces. And then as soon as we take just one of the items out of here, we get all of the experience that's bottled up in the smoker as well. This design here is by Exumavoid. All that clicking that you're hearing, that's giving us kelp blocks, that's giving us all kinds of great stuff to cook with. Oh yeah, look at it. We're feeding kelp to cook our kelp. It's a thing of beauty here, folks. Even if kelp does kind of look like trash bags, if I'm being honest. Observer brings up a good point. This is tileable, so we could put multiple of these in a row, and then that would let us just have all of this turning into kelp fuel. And then imagine just going through, getting the experience from all of those at once. It's basically an EXP battery that also cooks all of your stuff. Here we've got moss, and the reason that we brought moss down into this cave, or what looks like a cave, if I grab my netherite hoe and I bone meal the moss, I can instantly clear this out. And by the way, netherite is completely overkill here. You can use a stone hoe and still insta-mine. Now, the deep slate, which I wasn't able to insta-mine, is something that I'm able to clear away easily. And look, there's a reason why we've shown this trick off as one of my favorites. It's just so cool. When we did the July series and I had to dig down to the bottom of the world for the Caves and Cliffs achievement, where you fall out to the bottom of the world, I did part of that with a hoe and bone meal, because it's just annoying to have to not be able to insta-mine deep slate, even with haste too, making it all reusable. The Stasis Chamber Teleport Network. Now, the idea here is that if we go and throw our ender pearl into, there we go. Now I have my ender pearl stasis set up. So 6 is a safe number to build your bubble column. You throw your ender pearl in, make sure not to touch it on the top like I was. And then by doing that, I have it set up. So now I can trigger it with redstone, have this trapdoor flip. It teleports me back in an instant. But the idea of not just this, but we can have multiple different ones set up and then have us go in different directions. So like I got one over, let's say at the observer head. And then I have wireless redstone set up where it automatically triggers me to the observer head whenever I want. Granted, it does cost you an ender pearl every time, but if you have an ender pearl farm from the end anyway, you're gonna have a lot of those. It's a pretty cool way of making overworld portals. All right, observer, send me off and go and bring me back. Ow, ow. Hey, look at that. They always say the assistant does all the work in the magic shows, and it's still true here too. Here we've got the crossbow rocket launcher. All right, so if you offhand the rocket, load it up, and I've got multi-shot on this thing, I can stand back here and just eviscerate the poor pigs. Oh yeah, we got a real bloodbath here. That was kind of a rough particle to choose. Hard to say it's not accurate. The amount of damage that you could do with a crossbow with flight duration rockets like this is absurd. It's also one of the only projectiles that's able to hit mobs that normally normally don't get projectile damage, like the Wither in its later stages, or even Enderman. All right, here we go. Couple of Endermen. Yeah, look, I was able to hit them. Enderman killed with projectiles. Oh yeah. Plus, I also just think it looks really cool to be able to shoot firework rockets out of a crossbow. I mean, I don't use a crossbow that often, but this rocks. The Basalt Bridge Generator, famously shown off by Mumbo Jumbo, but the design that we have here is built by Narcanax. The idea here is that if you run blue ice over the top of lava, it actually converts it into basalt, giving us an infinite bridge generator. But look at this. I can go into survival mode. I'm just fine walking over this bridge. And folks, the redstone is simple enough for me to understand, so you know it's simple. And obviously, you could make more of these if you don't just want to walk around on a singular bridge. I wouldn't. This doesn't feel particularly safe, but it does work, and it's a lot safer than the alternative of just falling into lava. So I'll take this for sure. The Oozing Slime Farm. Now, this particular design seems a little crueler than what I remember building, but the idea here is that by using armadillos and the oozing effect that you get by brewing up a slime block into a potion, we can mass produce slime balls. So by suffocating the armadillos in the sand like so, they're completely safe to this. They're not dying. Safe might not be the best word, but they do live. And by having the zombie here to keep them in that curled up state, we can then give them the oozing effect. Every time that they get damaged, they're spawning silverfish. Now we got it going, and now we got our slime balls, and we can have this all get fed into an auto crafting system and get ourselves a slime farm. Okay, as you can see, each one of these silverfish has slime, and I'm not using this quite correctly, but boy does it work. The Undefusable Bomb. So this design is made by Rylan Stylen, great name. Any attempts to defuse this will just make it all set off. All right, it is now armed. Now the easy solution, right, would be trying to put like water or something over the top of this. But that doesn't exactly work. There's truly no way to make yourself safe from this, unless you just get rid of it once and then hope that you live to tell the tale. Here we've got the Warden Mob Switch. Now this will prevent any wardens from spawning. Literally any ancient city that we now go to, we're completely safe from. So the way that this is working is that this shrieker here, I'm overloading it with updates from my arrows, such that each time the shrieker wants to spawn, it wants to spawn inside of this water that's around it, but it just can't. So there's no actual wardens right now, observers telling me. The whole reason that we're hearing that sound is actually from the failed attempt. So that's literally just a warden who's like, whatever, I clear the water out and then I'll come. But he never comes. So literally, if I were to stand on top of this other shrieker, dance on it, I could dab on it if I wanted to. And the whole reason we have the portal in this design is because that allows us to chunk load so that this is active in every area that we're at. Piston bolt travel. We've shown this off in the past. If you build these like really weird curved rail things, that allows you to get the most speed, even more than powered rails. And now we're doing that with this piston bolt set up in such a way where we're pushing ourselves down. It just gets really crazy. Let me show you. Look at that. Shot right over to this other side, not a singular powered rail in sight. Now granted, it is extremely annoying to build because if I just mess up one of these, it messes up the whole chain. Very, very annoying. And there's designs that let you go in diagonals too, but those are hard to set up. But if you want an AFK way to travel, especially in the nether, you don't have to hold any buttons or anything. This works great. This one's not gonna seem so nice, observer, but believe me, is it overpowered. If we break into here, we've got ourselves a diamond block to represent the allays that we're gonna be torturing. Oh, this is just sad. Now, allays are one of the rare mobs that are able to regenerate, and because of that, we're able to use these allays, giving them constant damage with drowning currently, which is a slow enough damage tick to let them regen, where then if I give them the infested, and I were to get a sweeping edge sword, which is also overpowered, might I say. This way you could just auto-click on this. But all of this is just free XP. These were silverfish that didn't exist before, and now they're existing because we brewed up stone into a potion. How awesome is that? Oh, observer's got a good idea. We could splash these silverfish then with oozing, hereby giving ourselves a slime add-on to this. This is gonna get ridiculous. But if you wanted, you could combine our two most evil farms, add looting to this, you'd get some really crazy results. This by TWCPU. We've got up here our proper factory. All right, standing inside of the scaffolding, I guess I'm gonna go shoot one of these guys. There we go. That'll get all the zombified piglins mad at me. And then, as as you can see, they go, trigger towards me, fall down, and go off, becoming gold nuggets, getting melted down, converted into gold ingots with crafters, and then we barter that away with their non-zombified versions. Now we can choose to save the gold or not, but what we're doing is we're making a completely renewable way of giving ourselves all of the barterable items. We're getting 10.5 iron blocks per hour. All of this, 2,000, almost 2,500 blackstone, just about as much gravel, soul sand, crying obsidian, regular obsidian. I mean, the fact they're able to farm obsidian is absurd. I thought you needed withers for that. All of these arrows, a whole bunch of nether bricks, string. Now, the one thing you want to look out for is that they have talked about getting rid of the XP from these other aggravated piglins, so it might not be in here forever, so get in while the getting's good. Going out into the water, we're able to build ourselves the raid farm, which even after the 1.21 nerf is still very powerful. Now, if I get myself some bad omen potions like so, drink up one of these ominous bottles, then I can just kill off all of the mobs that are spawning here, getting myself even more ominous bottles if I'm getting ominous banners, if I'm killing like the raid captains. And then this also gives me an infinite supply of totems of undying, emeralds, all that good stuff. Redstone even, clay if you want to. There we go. And look, by killing it with looting, I'm getting all my player drops. As opposed to just killing them automatically, I wouldn't get all the same stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you see all your favorite hardcore YouTubers build one of these. It's basically the only way that they're able to survive forever. Here we've got a farm, and it's a farm for shulkers. Doesn't look nearly as pretty as that little diorama that we had. But the idea here is that if you have a shulker that gets shot by other shulker bullets, then it creates another shulker, and while that could be very annoying when you're trying to move them to the overworld, I'm talking from experience, what it does mean is that we can actually use this as a completely automatic way of getting ourselves a whole bunch of shulker shells. Look at how ridiculous this is with all the scaffolding. So we're using all this scaffolding and slabs to basically give them a funneled way of only having them teleport in the specific location, learning their teleportation mechanics to build this farm, and then they get teleported over here, picked up by the minecart, and then dispensed into lava, killing them automatically, giving us our shulker shells. It's pretty horrific when you describe it like that, but I've done worse in Roller Coaster Tycoon. I think it's fine. Credit to ending credit. Oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about here. Using all that slime and honey blocks that we collected from earlier, we can put that all onto display, giving ourselves an easy way to blast through the nether for netherite. This design's by Ilmango. Hey, we're off. So what we're doing is we're slowly extracting away at the wall here. And while it might seem weird that we have a villager and a zombie down here, the whole reason for that actually is that we're using their pathfinding to find out whether or not there's lava. This is crazy. But sure enough, this is going to be able to go through any obstacle without failure and get ourselves all the way over to some ancient debris. The speedrun Ender Dragon one-shot. Now, this is more so than just using beds. It's actually possible to use momentum and arrows to one-shot kill the dragon. Now, this is possible as Circuit Store shows off in this video. If you're aiming just right, standing next to the dragon, and then what you do is as soon as you get hit by the dragon, we're shooting, hitting it in the head, and then that gives it so much force on the arrow that even unenchanted, it's able to one-shot kill the Ender Dragon. That's so awesome. The one-shot machine. This here uses momentum principle to kill almost anything. And now, combining this with wind charges, we've got a small machine here by Raiseworks that can instantly kill anything. So by using this to automatically summon the Wither, we can then, just as easily as it's spawned, use it to automatically kill the Wither. Oh, well. Technical difficulties. Here's what it would look like when Raiseworks does it. This one seems a little stronger. And with that, folks, YouTube thinks that you might like this video. So see if they're right and have a good one. All right?